And with that out of the way, let's go ahead, get into this first segment, which is going to be about the NFL games that happened yesterday on Christmas. So the NFL now all of a sudden is trying to copy the NBA and take over Christmas. And as its first go round for Christmas games, it didn't really go so well. At least for the entertainment value, I guess you could say. I mean, the games that happened on Christmas, they were rather boring, and the games were never close. From the jump and from the first quarter of the game, it was like the team that got out in front first was the team that was going to end up winning the game in the end. And it wasn't by a close margin either. It was both of these games were blowouts, and both of these blowout losses came from the away team, which, I mean, I predicted that these outcomes would happen, but I did not expect these games to be as boring as they were. I thought the games were going to be a little bit closer. So first we're going to start with if the image wants to load. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. There it is. The Kansas City Chiefs, I almost said the Patrick Mahomes. The Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, they ended up winning against the Steelers at Pittsburgh. And this game also was called the Black Magic Bowl because on the internet, like there's like a meme going around that the Chiefs, they use black magic or something ridiculous because they're winning games, but they don't really play well in the games that they win. It's like they win the games, but it's not like they deserve to win it. And the same thing applies for the Steelers. And for the last few years, the Steelers have played probably the ugliest football in all of the NFL, but somehow, some way, they win more games than all of the bad teams in the NFL. They just find a way to win, but they were unable to find a way to win in this game. The Chiefs, this is their first dominant win of the season, and it really looked like the Chiefs were in playoff form with this one. I mean, the final score was 29-10, and Patrick Mahomes had a great game. Travis Kelce also had a record-breaking game. He broke the Kansas City Chiefs record for most receiving touchdowns by a Kansas City Chiefs player. He passed Gonzalez, I believe. Tyreek Hill was also on that list, but he passed him a long time ago. He also ended up recording, I believe it was 10,000 receptions, something like that. I'm not entirely sure exactly what it was. It was a lot of receptions, though, but he broke 2 records in this game and was absolutely incredible. Patrick Mahomes threw for 320 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game on 29 out of 38 pass attempts. And let's see, they didn't really get much from the ground, but again, when you have Patrick Mahomes making the plays that he's making and the Chiefs defense stopping the Steelers from scoring, then you have a recipe for success right there. This is sort of the Kansas City Chiefs performance that we are used to seeing. Like, this is the thing that they should have been doing in a lot of these games that they've been winning in, but they haven't, and they somehow been able to win. So it's, very again, first dominant win that the Chiefs have had. It seems like they're already in playoff form. 3 different receivers for the Chiefs scored a touchdown. Travis Kelce, I mentioned, was one of them. Xavier Worthy was also another one of them. And Justin Watson was another player who ended up recording a receiving touchdown in this game. Also, Kareem Hunt started the game off with a rushing touchdown. And the game was basically over after the Chiefs went up 13-0 and the Steelers threw an interception. Russell Wilson, he threw an interception on a really bad play. He threw into triple coverage, and it was not good. But I mean, the Steelers, they could not get anything going in this game aside from the start of the second quarter, and that was really the only points that were scored and the only time where the game was even a little bit competitive. I mean, then the teams started exchanging punts, and that was the end of the half, 13-7, so it looked like it was going to be a very competitive game, but the Chiefs slowly closed the window on that. In the third quarter, it was nothing but field goals, but then the Chiefs responded with a touchdown. The Steelers ended up fumbling the ball, giving it back to the Chiefs, which of course allowed the Chiefs to score another easy touchdown, making the score 29-10 and leaving it there as the Steelers turned it over on downs and there was nothing left for them to do. And afterwards it was just punt, and that was the end of the game. So It's very odd how the Steelers, they start out so strong. Every single time they start out strong, and every single time they always end up collapsing towards the end of the season and probably won't be able to make it farther than the first round. And that's part of the reason why a lot of people expect Mike Tomlin, or a lot of Steelers fans that aren't really big fans of Mike Tomlin. This is the reason why he they feel like he should get fired, because it's like, sure, I don't think he should get fired because he always makes the playoffs and he always helps his team make the playoffs. He's never had a losing season as a head coach, and the Steelers, they've always been in like playoff contention. It's just like they've never been able to do much more than make it out of the first round, and so it sort of defeats the whole purpose. At least to some Steelers fans, it's like, okay, I'm tired of making the first round. Maybe we should try and draft some more talented players. But I personally don't agree with that strategy. If you're good enough to make it to the playoffs, then you should try to make it to the playoffs. But if you thought this game was snooze fest, the next game that I'm going to talk about, the Ravens against the Texans, was even worse. The final score of this game was 31-2. That's right. The Houston Texans scored as many points as a mid-range jump shot. Boring. Absolutely boring. Texans had no touchdowns in this game, obviously. And the only points that they got was a safety when I believe it was Derrick Henry. He ended up getting tackled in the end zone. But aside from that, this game was a cakewalk for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson he only passed 15 times, but he made them count as he converted on 10 of them, threw for 168 yards in the air, threw 2 touchdowns along with that, and also contributed on the ground, rushing for 87 yards, also a touchdown along with that, on 4 attempts. So that is 21 yards per carry that he did in that game. Derrick Henry, he was phenomenal as always, 147 yards on the ground and 1 rushing touchdown as well. Mark Andrews caught a touchdown, and Isaiah Likely also caught a touchdown in this game, and the Texans did nothing. CJ Stroud has continued his sophomore slump. He ended up completing 17 of his 31 passes, which isn't bad, but then again, only 185 yards in the air, and he threw 1 interception with a QBR, of 59, which is not ideal, especially with the Texans, who are most likely going to win the AFC South, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be a strong team in the postseason like they were last season. I don't know what's going on with CJ Stroud, but he has not been having a very competent final few games. I mean, I think you can make the argument that Bryce Young has been better in recent weeks than CJ Stroud, and it's really not looking good for the Texans as of right now. Now, with this win, the Baltimore Ravens, they now hold the first seed in the AFC North, since they now have an 11-5 record compared to the Steelers, who have a 10-6 record. So the Steelers could have still clinched the number 1 spot if they would have won that game against the Chiefs, but they blew it on the line. And unfortunately, that's now the Ravens. They have the number 1. Unfortunate for Steelers fans. Now the Ravens have the number 1 spot in the AFC North. And judging by who they're going to face in next week, let's go right ahead and check. The next game that the Ravens are going to play is the Browns, of course. Go figure. And the Steelers, the next game they're going to play is going to be against, if the website would load, give me 1 second. Okay, let's see. They're going to play the Bengals. So, I'm going to pick the Ravens to end up winning the AFC North. They just have a much better chance against the competition. Then again, it is possible that they could end up resting their starters in the final week. That's usually what good teams do, even though I think the Chiefs also, they clinched the number 1 seed in the AFC, so they're most likely going to have a bye week. And actually, not most likely, they're definitely going to have a bye week with the record that they have. And they're most definitely going to bench all of their players for this next game. Also, it should be noted that going into this game, I believe Patrick Mahomes was suspected to have an ankle injury that he suffered in the previous game. Doesn't seem to really matter in the slightest. And that's just Patrick Mahomes for you. There's really not much I can say other than he's just incredible. And that's the recap for the Christmas games. Again, they've been very boring, and they weren't really as exciting as I expected them to be, but, it's still football, so you can't really complain. If those games were boring, then fear not, the NBA has you covered, and we're going to go right into that second segment after this short break, so be sure to stay tuned if you're interested to hear me talk about the NBA games that happened on Christmas right after this short break.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the